Hey boys and girls, so I'm back. We are reviewing the Module 8 quiz review today. So we're going to start with number 1. I'm just going to go through this document. I want you to come on to the WebEx today at 1 p.m. so we can go over it all together though. And I'll, of course, leave feedback on each of your documents before the day is over, so you have the feedback for you and with you when you take your quiz tomorrow. Okay, so number 1, it says that Gavin spent 3 hours doing homework. He spent 2/5 of his time doing a book report. How much time did Gavin spend on the book report? Okay, so I know the total amount of time in hours that he spent doing his homework. He spent 3 hours on homework, okay? But 2/5 of that time, okay, 2/5 of this time, he was doing book report. What they want to know is how much time did Gavin spend on his book report? So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to do 3, because that's the amount of hours we have doing total homework time. 2/5 of this time. So 2/5. So 2/5 of, the word of tells me to multiply. And I know I can only multiply a fraction by a fraction, so I'm going to go ahead and put this 3 over 1. When I do 3 divided by 1, that's still 3. So I haven't changed the value of this 3. It's still 3 hours, okay? It's just now in a fraction form. So now I'm going to go ahead and multiply. 2 times 3 is 6. And 5 times 1 is 5. Now, you may be looking over here and saying, well, hey, my answer's not up there. You're right. It's not. What you're going to have to do is take this improper fraction. The reason this is improper fraction is because the 6 is greater than the numerator 6 is greater than the denominator 5. So you're going to have to ask yourself, how many times does 5 go into 6? 5 goes into 6 one time. It's going to have 1 left over out of 5. Okay, and then of course you would label it, and I'm just going to put HRS for hours. Okay, and then you will see which of these options has that there for you. And you can see here that it is option B. Okay, and then what you could do for your own, I have the marker on here, but if you wanted to, and this is how I expect for you to answer it on your sheet, is you would just go ahead and you would highlight it to represent your answer, 1.5 hours. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to change colors just so that what I write here for the next problem doesn't get confused for the second problem. So number 2 says, which equation represents the area of the shaded part? So we want to figure out area of the shaded part, okay, of this figure right here. So we have to figure out the full equation. Each of these are equations, so we're going to have to go through each of them, all right? So over here, to figure out the first part, I'm going to have to count each of my total columns. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 is my denominator. Okay? Of the 5 columns that are going all the way down, 3 of them are shaded in. You see how I go all the way down? 3 columns are shaded in. So that is my numerator. Okay? So this fraction over here represents to me 3/5. Now I have to do this side. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total rows. Okay, so that's going to be my denominator because that's how many total there are. But only 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are shaded in. Okay, so that's 4/6 on this side. Okay, so now we're going to have to go ahead and check out our options that we have left. All of the fractions have an answer of 30 as their denominator, and that's because if you counted each of these little squares that were made, there are now 30 squares, because if you do 6 times 5, that's 30. To figure out the shaded area, you could count them. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You could have also gotten them by doing 4 times 3, and gotten 12 out of 30. So which of these gives you 12 out of 30? Right over here. 4/6 times 3/5 equals 12 out of 30. Be careful you didn't select 3/6 times 4/5, okay? You want to make sure that you are not switching up your numerators, okay? The amount of shaded rows goes with the amount of total rows, and the amount of shaded columns goes with the amount of total columns. You would have to do the same thing to figure out number 3. Okay, I'm going to go on to number 4. Let me just scroll down a little more. So number 4 says Mariko counted the shirts in her closet. She found that 3/4 of her shirts have short sleeves, and that 1/5 of those short sleeve shirts are also green. She wants to know what fraction of all of her shirts are short sleeved green shirts. Okay, so yes, again, just like the title of this document tells us, we are multiplying fractions. We're going to have to multiply these two fractions in order for us to find our answer. Okay, this one shouldn't be too difficult. Number 5 and 6 are also very self-explanatory. You are just multiplying the fractions. Over here, it is 89. That's not a typo. So just like how we solved for number 1, we had to take that whole number and make it a fraction. You're going to do the same thing. You're just going to put it over 1 and then multiply straight through. 4 over 7, and then just multiply straight through. 89 times 4, 1 times 7. Okay? Like I said, numbers 4, 5, and 6 are pretty self-explanatory. You're just multiplying the fractions in order to find your answer. For numbers 4 through 9, you have to go ahead and you have to answer or select the options based on its answer and predicting whether the answer is going to be greater than 4, less than 4, or equal to 4 for each of these problems. So as you can see, each of them are being used as 4 as the base number and multiplied by a fraction. This fraction is less than 1. Okay, think back to our lesson. What happens if I multiply something by a number less than 1? This fraction is greater than 1. Okay, my numerator is greater than my denominator. So what do you think is my answer is going to be? Is it going to be greater than 4, less than 4, or equal to? And for number 9, it says that 4 times 5 over 5. 5 over 5, if I did 5 divided by 5, that's 1. So do you think if I do 4 times 1, is my answer going to be greater than 4, less than 4, or equal to 4? Okay. And then finally, Sydney has 8/12 gallons of iced tea. She drinks 1/4 of the iced tea with her lunch. What fraction of a gallon of iced tea does Sydney drink? Again, we're just multiplying our two fractions and putting our answer right over here. As always, boys and girls, if you have any questions, please feel free to message below and comment on the post. And then, of course, I will see you today at 1 p.m. for our WebEx, and we will go over each of these problems and review their answers. And this will help you a lot for tomorrow's quiz. Will look just like this. All right? Bye, boys and girls.